You are listening to Hello Cupcake, It's Me, a podcast with your host, Michael Peterson.
Hey everyone, Michael here with Hello Cupcake, It's Me. Today is February 16th, 2023, and this is episode 53. So thanks for hanging out with me. If you haven't done so already, please hit like and subscribe, and then head on over to youtube.com/Hello Cupcake, It's Me to follow along with the vlog and the YouTube channel there. Make sure you check out the community tab and interact and do whatever there, and then head on over to the blog hellocupcakeitsme.com for stuff that I don't post anywhere else. So today's kind of a somber day for me, and I'm going to try to keep it on an upbeat note, but today marks the 1 year passing of my cat of over 14 years. Her name was Bella, for those of you who are new to my content and haven't checked out the YouTube channels and stuff like that. But yeah, she's been gone now 1 year, and it's been really difficult the last week and a half, 2 weeks, because I took so many pictures and videos and whatever of her that I'm constantly being reminded by Facebook and Instagram and all the other places that I uploaded videos and pictures to, and even Google is like, hey, on this day you did XYZ, and shows me like this whole like carousel of images and stuff, and I'm just like, man, it's been hard. So shout out to my little baby girl who crossed over the Rainbow Bridge a year ago. She was a great cat. But I love Baboy. He's pretty awesome. His 1 year anniversary comes on the 23rd. So it was exactly 1 week after Bella passed that I got him, and he's just been a interesting addition to my life, and some just a presence that I can't imagine living without now. So hopefully I'll have a lot of good years with him. They say that male cats usually don't live as long as females, and if I get another 12 or 13 years with a really good animal, then I'll be thankful. So moving on from there, God. So talking about trivia on Tuesdays, because a lot of you know from my YouTube videos and from the podcast now that I go to trivia every Tuesday. And this Tuesday was just a bunch of bullshit. They had a internal mess up on the system, and so what was happening is, if you were answering the right question, or you giving the right answer or whatever, you were getting 0 points for that. But if you answered if you got it wrong, you got like 1,000 points or whatever. And there was a lot of people that were complaining about it on the Facebook page and stuff like that. And it wasn't until Wednesday that anything was even really addressed about it. And it's like, how the hell are you going to run a nationwide business that deals exclusively with bars and stuff if you aren't going to be available to take care of the problems that arise? Like, yeah, it's great that you want to be Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, but if your clientele is, Monday through Sunday from 4 p.m. to 3 a.m., you might need to have business hours that reflect that. So I don't know. I only got like a round and a half in before I just got pissed off. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not even doing this. I'm going home. And I guess after I left, there was a little bit of a confrontation between a newer person and one of the old time people that like hang out there quite a bit. And he's like, dude, calm down, it's just a game. And like, no, fuck you, it's not just a game to us. This is something that we take pride in. The fact that we are second or third place silver division, and we worked our asses off to get out of bronze division into silver division, and we've maintained silver division for almost, what is it, going on 4 or 5 months now. So yeah, no, don't tell us to fucking calm down. How about you get the hell out of our bar? How about that? So I just said, yeah, I'm glad that I wasn't there, because I probably would have told the dude where to go and how fast to get there and what to shove up his ass once he got there. So, yeah, for most people, it's just a game. But when you are devoting your time and your effort into a collective like that, it's like, okay, this has no value in your life, but don't take away from the fact that it has value in other people's lives. So, yeah, there was all that. And then, over the last week or so, I have just been dealing with doctor's appointments and trying to get seen by doctors and all this other stuff. Um, I literally had to track down one doctor to get him to do the CAT scan or the CT scan that I needed. And that was just a bunch of bullshit. Like, before, I never had to, well, I should rephrase that. I don't believe I ever had to have a an appointment for the CT scan that I had to do for making sure that my kidney stones weren't coming back or whatever, and just kind of doing a general checkup on everything. And so, um, yeah, I go to the hospital. I walk into diagnostic imaging. The lady there, she is like sweeter than Southern tea. Just fun little, just a fun person. And so she explains to me, oh, sorry, Mr. Peterson, but we have to schedule for this type of thing because, blah, blah. I'm like, well, shit, that doesn't work, but okay, let's go ahead and schedule. So she's like, okay, well, you can come back in tomorrow, and at this time, we'll have, we have availabilities for you. I said, cool, perfect, awesome. I'll do that. So the way that our health care system here where I live is set up is we have an app called My Chart. And with My Chart, you can sign into your appointments and all that other stuff, send messages to your doctors, do medication refills, so on and so forth, and you get your lab results that way, and all these other different things. So there's an entrance over by radiology, and then there's the main entrance to the hospital, and then there's another side entrance where urgent care and the ER is. So I checked into my appointment on my app through the phone, and I park on the side where radiology is. Now, the distance between the two is probably a good football field and a half, give or take. But, it's not a direct shot. You have to wind, it's like a maze. You have to go through all these different corridors and hallways and whatever to get from point A to point B. So you're like basically wandering the hospital before you get to where you need to go. And I so I park over by radiology, and I go into radiology. I'm like, "Hi, I'm here for my appointment. I checked in using My Chart. Um so that's it." Or I said I checked in using My Chart. Everything's still the same in the on the computer. All my medications are the same. I live at the same address, same phone number, same email address, same insurances, whatever. And I go to sit down, and she's like, well, but did you check in through registration? And I said, no. I didn't check in through registration. Oh, well, you need to go check in through registration before you can be seen. I checked in on my chart. She said, well, you have to sign a consent form. I said, I checked in on my chart, which is my first consent saying that I am going to be here. My second consent is the fact that I'm standing before you. I'm like, I'm not walking all the way back up to registration. I parked back here for a reason because I checked in. And I showed her the text messages that I received. I received 6 text messages and 3 app notifications for that appointment telling me to check in. I'm like, so why am I getting so many check-in things telling me to check in, check in, check in, check in, check in, if when I check in, I still have to go to registration? That seems like registration with extra steps. She's all, well, you need to do it that way or you cannot be seen. That is one of my triggers right there. You do not tell me that I'm going to be denied services because I don't want to jump through your hoops. I know she's just trying to do her job or whatever, but front desk and non essential personnel basically telling me that I can't do something, especially when it comes to my medical health, is a huge trigger for me. And I just erupted in this bipolar anger, and I held it back the best I could, but she saw that I got visibly pissed off and upset because she kind of backed away from the desk a little bit. I was like, if I have to go all the way back up to fucking registration to check in, I promise you, this is not going to be pleasant for either one of us. And she's all, well, that's what needs to be done. So I walk out and I go up to registration, and then fucking registration tells me she could have checked me in back there. Like I knew she could. Like I know that every department in that fucking hospital has the ability to do so. I said, give me 5 minutes and call back there and tell her that. And so I go back there and I slam my hands on her desk. I'm like, they told me you could check me in because you have consent forms. And even if you don't have consent forms, that you still have the ability to check me in. So you basically had me waste my time, energy, and whatever else to fucking walk up to registration because you didn't want to hand me a piece of paper. And about that time, the phone rings and it's the front desk or registration. And she's like, yeah, he's here. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay, bye. And she looked at me, she's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Peterson. I'm like, yeah, I bet you really are. I was all, now you can go and get my technician and tell them that I'm ready because my appointment was 5 minutes ago. So whoever they're working on, get them out of there or have me sit on their lap, whatever you got to do. So just to be an extra Karen, because, well, I was already pissed off at that point because it literally took my technician 3 minutes to do my imaging. I walked in, took my insulin pump off, laid on the table, wah, wah, and that was it. I was like, okay, cool. So I went back up to the front desk. I was like, I want a copy of my images. And she's all, well, is it for you or is it for a doctor? I said, I want a copy of my images. Please burn them to a disk. And I sat down and I got on my phone. She's all, well, there's going to be a charge if it's for you. I said, no, there is not. She said, well, it's hospital policy. I said, no, I'm going to stop you there. Under the Freedom of Information Acts, you have to provide me a copy of all my medical records. And because I'm requesting my medical records, you have to provide them to me. Does not matter if I'm taking it to another hospital or if I'm just going to take it outside and skeet shoot it. The fact that a request has been made is valid enough. Now make my disc, give me the paper to sign, and I will go and get out of your hair. But my attitude is directly respondent to the fact that you have caused this. So the faster, the better for the both of us. And I sat back down and she started typing on her computer. And I was like, okay, I'll give her. And I started timing her. And it was like 3 minutes later, I said, um, what are you typing up the reason that my disc isn't being burnt right yet? And at this point, I can tell she's just getting pissed with me, and I don't care because I'm just in that mood now. And when I'm in a bipolar anger mood or whatever, I just can't get out of it. So she's like, "Oh, well, I had to answer some emails." I said, "No, what you had to do is get me the copy of my images like I've asked you for, and like the technician came out and said to do." So now, not only have you been told by somebody who is higher ranking than you have now also been told by the patient themselves who pays for your job to get it done. I said, you have 2 more minutes to get me my CD or I'm calling head of house. Which, for the record, if you ever need to get something done quick, fast, and in a fucking hurry in a hospital, get a hold of the head of house. They're like the John Wick boogeyman of the hospital. No one wants to knock on the door from the head of house. Like, it goes the owners of the hospital, the board, head of house. And head of house is usually on said board. And I was all, and I actually have the head of house like on speed dial on my phone. I said, their phone number is still this, extension this, right? And is so and so still the head of house, or did she finally retire like she was talking about a couple of months ago? And the lady's face just went pale. I'm like, yeah. So, need very less to say. I got my disc within a minute and a half, and I was on my way. And I looked over my shoulder as I was walking. I was like, I hope we don't have to have another one of these days. And walked out of the office. Now, guys, I'm usually not that person, but my bipolar was triggered and I just could not let go of it. And that, like, that other side of me, one of my 13 personalities, decided to pop out and, like, no, fuck this bitch. And I'm usually the first person that's all like, oh, yeah, let me have all the paperwork that I need. I'll sign it all right now, do all this, blah, 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 blah. But I was already irritated. I was in pain. I had a crappy day. She only made it worse. And it was just a whole fiasco. Um, so outside of that, that was just like that was just the beginning of the end of that week. And I know that's kind of confusing, but yeah, so um moving on from there, I had I had a doctor's appointment for my diabetic doctor's appointment, and I had to go get labs done and all that other stuff. And so I went to my diabetes doctor yesterday, and he was really happy with my numbers and everything and had some suggestions on what we could try and what should be done. And then I broke my damn tooth. And it's one of my wisdoms or anyways, it's one of those. But it's been eroding for a while now, and it's part of the fact that the very, very back teeth came in at an angle and it's been pushing and causing fracture stress points and all that other stuff on that tooth. And so, like, this huge piece of my tooth just broke off yesterday. And so I call my dentist, and usually my dentist is like right on top of things. And I I'm having serious like anxiety about having to go to the dentist at all anyways. And so I call him up. I'm like, hey, got the broken tooth happening. I need to get it seen. Blah blah. They never called me back. Guys, when I tell you they never called me back for the rest of that day, they didn't. And then I get a phone call this morning at like 8 a.m. Oh, hi, Mr. Peterson. I'm calling you back. The doctor can see you on the 28th. I'm like, the 28th. That's an emergency appointment, is the 28th? Yeah. I'm like, what the actual fuck? Like, you do. He remembers that I'm diabetic and that I have a gaping hole in my mouth, right? Yeah, it's all here in your chart. I'm like, huh, okay. Well, I guess if the 28th is the best that can be done, I will try to stick to that appointment because I'm not going to come in if my face is all healed up and whatever. So I just don't understand healthcare in in America. And a friend of mine just sent me a thing for that was on Instagram telling me this story about a mother who had the Department of Child Services called on her because she couldn't afford her son's insulin. And it was like, what the actual fuck? And this person tried to do the best that they could by getting them like a healthcare plan that was $450 just for the kid. And she didn't qualify for any kind of state aid or medical help or any of that other stuff, and was making like just barely 13.50 an hour. And I was just like, yeah, what do you do? Because I've been in that position where I haven't been able to get my insulin um because there's been a screw up with the um prescription or whatever else, and then the medical staff just taking their dear sweet time getting it to me. Like, I went 2 weeks without being able to fill my insulin one time. Thankfully I had just a little bit on hand, but I rationed that shit. Like, instead of taking a shot several times a day, I took a shot once every other day, and it really jacked my blood sugar numbers up or whatever. But you do what you got to do when you're in those situations, and it's part of the reason that I try to not utilize my medications the way that I do, is because of that factor. So when I know that I'm starting to run low on medications, I'll start like biting my pills in half or taking half a dose of my insulin, because I know that it's going to take at least 4 to 5 days for them to get shit refilled for me. So, yeah, I don't know. Um, so I'm gonna get off of health stuff here for now, and just talking about like some of the new houses that I see are starting to go up, and they're tiny home communities for low income housing, and I think that is freaking amazing. We have three new developments being built right now, and hopefully that's going to help some of the people that are traditionally unhoused or are street dependent get into these new shelters and places like that. And apparently there's more slated to be built in a little in like shorter periods of time. Like, I think there's 4 or 5 more community developments that are taking place that should be completed by 2024, 2025, I think it was. So keeping my fingers crossed because, at any given time, that could be me or a loved one needing to get into that type of a housing situation. So yeah, hoping that continues to get the momentum that it needs and that we get the affordable low income housing that we desperately need in this area, because I don't see rent going down anytime soon because people are just greedy bastards. Like, I don't understand thinking that it's okay to completely live on the back of your tenants, like that they are paying not only the mortgage for the place that they're living in, but the mortgage for the place that you're living in, plus giving you extra money every month. Like, that makes absolutely no sense to me. But I've also been called a bleeding heart Democrat or whatever, so whatever, whatever. um Outside of that, I have just been watching The Walking Dead and watching a few movies here and there, doing my arts and crafts and playing video games. The recent movie that I just watched had Anna Kendrick in it called Alistair, and that movie was so goddamn triggering for me because, one, I absolutely love Anna Kendrick, and two, it was about being in a narcissistic, abusive, toxic relationship. And the last relationship that I was in was very abusive and narcissistic. And so seeing her go through that triggered a lot of the stuff that was going on in me. And then I'm used to seeing her in kind of funny, somewhat upbeat, um, comedy dramatic roles, and seeing her in this very serious, very kind of ominous, dark role, and thinking of her like being abused, that just really, really bothered me, like remembering some of the abuse and stuff that I went through in my previous relationship. And it's not often that men talk about being abused or in domestic violence situations. And I think we need to flip the script on that, that it's not a sign of weakness that you are asking for help or trying to get away from an abuser. And it doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, whatever. If you're in an abusive, toxic relationship and you need help, you should feel comfortable to ask for help. And damn the people who say, "Oh, well, you're just being stupid," or "You're a pussy," or "Oh, quit being gay," or whatever, whatever derogatory slang that they could throw at you. Those are the people that you don't need in your life. Or like, if your quote unquote buddies or bros are making fun of you because you got your ass beat by your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever, you don't need to be in that type of a relationship, and you don't need to have those people in your life. But yeah, so now the video games that I'm playing, I'm replaying Super Mario Odyssey and going through and trying to get all the power moons and stuff to unlock the second dark, or the second dark side of the moon, or the dark side of the moon, whatever that very last kingdom is. And just having kind of fun just replaying it. And then the other game that I'm playing out besides that is called Max and the Curse of Brotherhood, and it's kind of like a labyrinth story where the older brother kind of wishes that his younger brother would go away, and this monster from another dimension pulls him through a portal, and like it's all about you having to save your little brother. So having fun with that one. It's a little bit more challenging because it's a side scroller RPG puzzle game. So it's got a lot going on, and you have to like really think things through, and you constantly are dying or whatever, but it's a lot of fun. So, anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up now. So, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. You can shoot me an email, hellocupcakeitsme@gmail.com, and then make sure you go check out youtube.com/hellocupcakeitsme and hellocupcakeitsme.com. And until next time, I will talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for tuning in. You have been listening to Hello Cupcake, It's Me, a podcast with your host, Michael Peterson. Please make sure to check back often as new episodes are released bi-weekly. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to send a message to hellocupcakeitsme@gmail.com. And until next time, stay happy, safe, and keep doing the best you can with what you have been given.